Hey guys! So today is a very exciting day for me. I am going to record my wedding makeup tutorial. So this is the actual look that I ended up wearing on my wedding day. And today is the first video that I have recorded in over a month, I think. So let's see how things go. Forgive me if I'm a little bit rusty though. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody that wished myself and Paul well. I saw your messages on Facebook and on Instagram and all across my social medias on Twitter and everything. So thank you so much. It's just so lovely to have you guys as like this huge support of like really lovely people around the world wishing you well. It's just the most awesome feeling in the world. So thank you so much. The wedding went like it could not have gone better. It was absolutely perfect. It was exactly everything that we hoped and dreamed for. It was just so amazing to have all of our friends and family together with us in France for a full weekend. So we got to spend loads of time with our friends and family, which obviously living so far away from home, we don't get to do that very often. So it was just wonderful. And to be honest, the morning of the wedding, I don't know, I was so excited, like beyond excited. I was almost vibrating with like nervous, excited energy. And the makeup, I did it over the span of about 2 hours. I was just kind of like chatting, and then I'll pick something else up and I'd do that, and then I'd pick something else up and walk around the room or have a sandwich. Like it just kept, it wasn't like a concerted, like I sat down and locked myself away for an hour and did my makeup as I kind of imagined that I would. It was just a very like, it just kind of happened. And I didn't really think about it that much as I was doing it. I just kind of used products that I know I really like and did a look that I know is flattering on me. And yeah, I was delighted with how it came out in the end, and it looked wonderful in the photographs. And I have uploaded quite a few photographs, and I will be uploading more before this video goes out onto my Instagram account. So if you do want to see some of our wedding pics, definitely go and check out my Instagram, and why not follow me while you're there? I'll leave the link down below. But let's actually start putting stuff on the face, shall we? So the first thing I did, I think, there are some bits and pieces that I'm kind of hazy about what I did, but I'm pretty sure I did this. Sprayed my face with the Urban Decay all-nighter setting spray, because I do find that this helps my makeup to last. And then for my primer, I used my MAC Prep and Prime Skin Base. For my foundation, I ended up going with MAC Pro Longwear foundation, just because this is really one of the longest wearing foundations for me on my skin, and I know that it photographs really beautifully, so I went with this. Now, I did have a bit of false tan on. I wore some of the Tan Organics oil, so it's like a gradual oil tan. I had 2 applications, so I applied it on the Thursday night and the Friday night before the wedding, and it looked perfect. I was so happy with it. It looked really natural. And not like too tanned, because Paul obviously isn't, he's Irish too, so he wasn't very tanned, so I didn't want to be like super tan next to him in the photos. So on the day for my foundation, I mixed a little bit of NC15, which is what I'm putting on my face right now, and I think it was a little bit of NW25, just to kind of deepen it up to match the tan. For my concealer, on anywhere that I had a bit of redness or any blemishes, although my skin was actually really well behaved, which was great, so I didn't have any major breakouts, so I only really needed to use this around my nose. This is Pro Longwear concealer in NW20. And then for my concealer under the eyes, I actually went with a new one, which is probably like, I don't recommend that you do that, like that's not the smartest thing to do, but it did work out okay. It's the NARS Creamy Concealer. This is in the color Vanilla. This is quite a heavy duty concealer. It's not really at all what I expected it to be like. I had used it for about the week running up to the wedding, actually probably the 2 weeks running up to the wedding, and decided to use it just because it's a lot more brightening than the Pro Longwear concealer is, and it's also really long wearing. So that's why I went with this rather than Pro Longwear. I didn't go too crazy with like highlight and contour and try to like really brighten up my under eye area or anything like that, because even though this is makeup for photography, it does also have to look good in real life on the day, and pretty much the whole thing was done outdoors in natural daylight, so you know, you can't really afford to go too crazy with your makeup in natural daylight. For setting the makeup through the center of my face, I decided to go with another new product. I don't know what came over me. I used the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder. This is Ethereal Light. So this is quite a brightening, very fine, illuminating powder. So it works lovely through that center portion of the face. Just taking quite a small brush Just gonna set that under eye area first, and then just taking a bigger brush, just run that over the T-zone. And then to set kind of the outside of my face, because I did set everywhere just because I wanted everything to last really well, I took my usual MAC Mineralize Skinfinish, which is just a little bit more matte than the other powder. For my bronzer, you're not going to believe this, guys, but it's another new product. I actually did use some new products. I had tested them quite thoroughly like the 2 weeks before the wedding though, so I knew that they would work, and I'm really happy that I did use them. So for my bronzer, I used one of the new Hourglass, what are these called? The Luminous bronzers. Ambient bronzers. This is a Luminous bronze, so this is the lighter of the two. I think these are absolutely beautiful. Totally deserving of all the love that they're getting online. One thing to bear in mind though is they're really, really pigmented. So I like to use them with a duo fiber brush like this because you don't put quite as much product on, but definitely make sure you take the excess off the brush first because they're a lot stronger and a lot darker than you would think looking at the color in the pan. But they're just so easy to blend and give a really lovely smoothing kind of bronze finish on the skin. And I'll just take the brush I used for my foundation just to smooth over any edges. And then on my cheeks, I used this stuff, another Hourglass product. This is their ambient blush in Incandescent Electra. This is the one that was in one of the limited edition palettes, and they brought it out as a permanent color because people loved it so much. It's gorgeous, a beautiful, soft, bright peach with just the right level of shimmer to get away with during the day. I place that quite high on the cheekbones just so you can get that really lovely glossy finish on the top of the cheekbones. So I didn't actually use any separate highlighter. I just used this. When I say I didn't do any more highlight, actually, I mean I didn't do any more highlight on the cheeks, but I did add a little bit of highlight elsewhere on my face just to kind of tie it all in together. And for that, I chose, where is it? I chose one of the Makeup Geek. So I brought a Makeup Geek palette with me and a MAC palette that I'll show you in a second. But I used this one called Starry Eyed. Just took a very soft eyeshadow brush, took the excess off. Just pop that right on the tip of my nose and Cupid's bow and right in here. So moving on to the eyes, first thing I did is take some of my Urban Decay Primer Potion and apply that, and I ran that the whole way all over my eyebrows, all the way up into, all over my eyelids I should say, all the way up into my eyebrows, just so that it held anything I put on my brows in place too. And then for my brows, I first took my Anastasia Brow Wiz and used that to kind of get the basic shape in. Then to actually like really fill them in and get them nice and crisp, I used eyeshadow because honestly, I do think that eyeshadow gives like, I think the most natural defined effect, if that makes sense. You get the definition, but it still looks natural, unlike like a brow pomade or a pencil. So I took, this is the MAC palette I brought, so you can see they're actually quite cool, these tones that I brought with me. And I mixed a little bit of Omega and Espresso together. And then I just took some of my Anastasia Clear Brow Gel and just ran that through, brushed all the hairs upwards, and then ran over the top just to pop them back into place. So next on the eyes, I'm going to take a paint pot, as I said. I used paint pot, and I'd probably do this before the eyebrows actually, if I could recommend an order to do it in. And this is Soft Ochre, and I'm just going to paint this all over. So I did the brow highlight first, and for that I used MAC Mylar eyeshadow. I'm gonna load my brush up and just pop that right on the very inside, kind of in at the bridge of the nose there as well, just to brighten that area up too. And I'm bringing that brow highlight down kind of into the crease so that when I go to blend darker shades up from the crease into the brow bone, they just blend really smoothly and they don't stick to that paint pot. So for the colour on my lid, I first decided to start shading in my crease and kind of giving my eye shape a little bit more dimension before I started to like pile on colours. So for that I used MAC's Omega eyeshadow, and with my 217 brush, Just gonna buff that right in at the crease. Also bringing that onto the eyelid, just on the outside there. Next, I took some of Satin Taupe by MAC. And this, actually, the colours that I used on the day were totally inspired by a recent tutorial that I uploaded, my sophisticated any occasion makeup, which I'll have linked down below if you haven't seen it yet. But I had pre-recorded that video before, I think that was the last video I recorded actually before we left. And I just loved how the colours looked on my skin. So I just decided when it came to the day, I was just like, okay, I'll just use those colours because they kind of went with, like, you know, the colour scheme of the wedding too. So I'm just putting that on with a flat eyeshadow brush. I'm putting it on about the outside half of the eye. And then taking that 217 brush again and just buffing. So buffing it into the Omega eyeshadow and across the lid a little bit too. Next, for that inside portion of the lid, I took Retrospeck. So you can see this is pretty much exactly the colours that I used, just a slightly different placement to that other tutorial. And I'm just using my middle finger to apply this colour. This is a, what are they called? They're kind of bitty, like almost chunky. So I find they go on really nicely with your fingers. You don't get as much fall down. I'm just applying that right from the inside corner, just to meet that Satin Taupe in the middle. And then again, back to that 217 brush, just to very softly buff. Now for the colour on the lower lash line, I wanted it to be soft. I wanted there to be a little bit of kind of shading there just to like define my eyes in photographs, but not too dark because sometimes that can make me look a bit tired. So I think what I went with was actually just the Satin Taupe eyeshadow. I'm sorry guys, some of the details are a little bit fuzzy, but this is what I can figure out from looking at the photographs, and took most of that off and then just very softly ran that along the lower lash line. I'll just use my finger, clean finger, just to take away the edge. And then I also took some of that Retrospeck, which I took out of the palette. And I'll just use the brush because my fingers are a little bit too big for the lower lash line. Just place that. Not on the very, very inside corner because I'm going to put a more highlighted shade in there. But just kind of shy of the tear duct and into the middle. And for that very, very inside corner, I took Nylon by MAC, which is really, really super shiny. So again, I'm just going to take the excess off. And then just lightly buff that right around the inside corner. So using a brush that's a little bit more tapered, a bit pointier than the 217, I'm going to take some of Mystery, which is a very dark, cool brown. So you can see a very similar tone to Satin Taupe, but it's matte and a little bit darker. And take that on the brush, take off the excess, and then just very lightly buff that in a V shape on the outside. So I'm getting into the crease and down onto the lash line. And now it's time for eyeliner. So what did I do? I took gel eyeliner, and first I used that to tightline my top waterline and kind of push it right into the roots of the lashes. I also used the gel eyeliner to plot in the shape of my eyeliner. I'm going to be going over this now with some liquid eyeliner that's super duper waterproof and long lasting. So I just wanted to get the shape in with the gel first, which is a little bit easier to fix if you make a mistake. And I went for all out flicks because it's kind of my signature look. I always wear flicks on my eyes, and I felt like it wouldn't really look like me and I wouldn't feel as confident unless I had the flicks, and so that's what I went with. So for the liquid liner, I went with Maybelline's Hyper Glossy. I really like this liquid liner actually. It's a great drugstore one. It's so long wearing and totally waterproof, so I knew even if I was going to cry, which I did, it would last. So actually all of my makeup lasted really well, even through the occasional teary moment. So what I did do though, which I've just done now, is decant some of the eyeliner onto a palette just so I could use my eyeliner brush, because I find it a little bit easier to apply with an actual eyeliner brush rather than the little brush you get with it. Next, onto the lash curling. And for my mascara, I went with Gigablack Lash by MAC because I find this to be semi-waterproof, waterproof enough to cry with. And it's really, really, really black, so it'll look great in the photographs. And of course, I did false lashes and I decided to do individuals. I kind of regretted it as I was putting them on because it was such a faff to put them on, but it was totally worth the hassle because they were so comfortable for the full day and they lasted really well. So I wasn't worried about them like falling off or anything, which I would have been if I wore strip lashes. So I have a packet of long, a packet of medium and short, and I kind of mixed all three. So I did like 2 long on the outside, like 4 or 5 medium, and then a couple of short on the very inside. I'll pop on a little bit more mascara as soon as those have dried, but first there is actually one step in the skin that I forgot, and that is my contour. So I took my Makeup Store eyeshadow in Masai and my favorite contouring brush and just dabbed it on there, take off the excess, and just kind of almost stamped that right under my cheekbones. Not really bringing that much further forward than the width of the brush, which is great actually. It's a really handy kind of way to measure it, is just using your brush as a unit of measure. And onto the lips. So first, of course, I used Kiana lip pencil because it's my favorite. And then for the lip colour, I decided to go with one of the Rimmel Provoca lips because they're so long lasting, but also really comfortable. This is the pink one, 200, I'll call you. And I actually put it on with a lip brush just so I could get it right to the edges of my lips. So I had the lips on, I was really happy with my makeup. I was like, yeah, done, bam, let's do this, let's move on. And I put the dress on, and as soon as the dress was on, I thought the lips kind of looked a little bit too dark and too pink. So I decided to try and lighten them up a little bit. So I took some of the Too Faced melted liquefied Longwear lipstick. This is in Melted Peony. And then once that was on, I thought, oh no, it's still too pink. So I put even more lipstick on top. So I actually took some of my Bite lip crayon in the colour Leche, which is a lot more peachy, and just ran that over the top. And then I was happy with the lipstick. Now, I'm not by any means suggesting that that's what you should do, but I'm just showing you what I actually did. And that is the finished look. So this is the makeup that I wore on my wedding day, and it lasted really, really well. It looked gorgeous in the photographs. I was so happy with how it looked on the day. Even the lipstick, considering I put like 20 products on there, it still lasted pretty well, and it didn't rub off on Paul when I gave him the kiss or anything like that. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. As I said, if you want to see more pictures of our wedding, then definitely go to my Instagram account and you can see more there. Also, I did my hair myself on the day, so I don't know, it wasn't exactly spectacular hair, but if you're wondering what I did, I just put it up into hot rollers, left it to cool down while I was doing my makeup, then took out the rollers, kind of shook my hair out, and literally just pinned back 2 bits like I've done right now, and that was pretty much it. My aunt then came and helped and just took a few sections in the back and curled them with a wand, just because they had kind of straightened out. My hair just cannot hold a curl, and it all kind of fell out by the end of the night. Like by the time I was dancing on the dance floor, it had completely fallen out. But trust me, you don't care on your wedding day about stuff like that. Well, you probably shouldn't care about stuff like that. All I was concerned about was eating, drinking, talking to friends and family, and having an amazing time, and that's exactly what I did. So I am just rambling on now. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry about all of my absence for the last few weeks, but we should be back to normal from now. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you very soon. Bye!